Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shelbyville Now and another edition of Conversations. Today, we're continuing a conversation with Mr. Andy Brantley. Andy, it's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
We've had a conversation about general nutrition and some of the things that we have to decipher and figure out for ourselves. And you told your story last time. And we got to talking about what the definition of organic food was. And you kind of gave a broad term and,
Sure.
and made the comment that it's probably better than what we've been getting.
The best we can do right now.
Yeah, the best we can do right now. So I want to dig into that just a little bit more. Is organic food a marketing ploy, or is it more of an actual change in a step up in quality for our products?
So I hate to make long answers, but it's the only way I know how to do it.
Yeah.
So, 100 years ago, everything was organic.
Right.
Okay. But in organic, the word just means from living things, living matter. You do know that there are inert chemicals on this planet that we wouldn't consider alive, although they can be intermixed with living things.
Right.
But I would say in the 60s and 70s, probably the hippies, I don't know who's attributed to coining the phrase, but the phrase organic was used by the hippie movement to tell the establishment, like, hey, we want to go in a different direction than what we see happening. And what we see happening is industrial and chemical agriculture that we think is destroying not only the quality of our food, but destroying the quality of our planet and of our lives.
Right.
So the government didn't really get involved until I think around 2000. There was a mandate, the whole certified organic governmental stamp,
Right.
the different factions that were governing that, and basically they came up with rules that to be organic certified that you must adhere to, and those rules were to cut out non-organic things like chemical fertilizer, pesticides, a lot of herbicides, radiation that is used to preserve foods,
Right.
sewage sludge, like you can't use sewage sludge on your crops. There's a company here in town that gets them, but they have to do certain things to them and break them down organically before they can be put on the field.
Gotcha.
So when we say certified organic now in today's time, us as consumers, we like the label. Those of us that care like the label because it means that these synthetic or non-living chemicals weren't used in the process of this agriculture.
Okay. Let's talk about a tomato. Okay. A lot of folks around here grow their own tomatoes. Nothing better than a tomato grown in Bedford County. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So one of my favorites. So let's say that I want to go and put out 5 tomato plants, and I've do some composting with old leaves and some old mulch
Sure.
and different things. Yeah. And I build me a compost and I plant my tomato plants around this compost, and I'll throw a little bit of fertilizer on that, or I put some chicken manure or something like that. Would that be, could you say that is an organic product, me raising it in my backyard doing that type of thing?
You might could get that certification, but the real essence of the word organic deals with everything. Also, it can't be GMO. So there are, let's say there's GMO tomato seeds. You couldn't use GMO
Explain
tomato.
To people what GMO stands for.
Genetically modified organisms, and those organisms, the reason why they're genetically modified is to get better usability out of that product.
Okay.
So let's say for a tomato, we don't want the best tasting tomato, because the best tasting tomato rots really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't ship well, because when it bounces around in the car, it bruises. You want the best tomato is one you had to pick carefully off the vine.
Right.
And so those don't do well as far as marketability, sellability, travelability. So GMOs were designed so that we could be more efficient with whatever it may be. Corn is a prime example. Corn is an amazing plant that it can hold so much photosynthesis and so much sugar and so many good things in that little kernel. Corn extracts so much from the soil that's readily available then. So corn is a great product, but the reason why it's genetically modified is so you can grow it for miles and miles in a monoculture and spray it for weeds and
Right.
Control it with one person on a tractor. If it wasn't modified, it would be a lot harder.
Right.
So
So
more
the
labor
GMO
intensive.
is for convenience sakes.
Sure.
And
efficiency.
You're right. So it's to improve the deliverability and the length of the product staying on the shelf and being available.
There's a whole litany of things that producers want to be more efficient, and
Right.
GMO helps them bridge some of those issues.
Right. So without that term GMO, some of the stuff that we're seeing in our produce departments at our local grocery store, it's going to spoil quick. It's going to come in not looking perfect without the GMO that we have going on today.
You ever been to a farmer's market?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to see a lot of weird looking stuff.
Hey, best tomato I ever ate looked weird, man. It was like weird, all out of shape,
like
had
a banana.
splits all in it. And it was the best tasting thing I've ever had. But you're not going to see that on the shelf at the grocery store because you won't pick it up and buy.
And that's another thing they want us as consumers to get used to. A single solitary look that we're used to, that we rely on. And that's just not, that's not how nature works. And, a monoculture, nature does not like monocultures, and nature tries to get rid of monocultures, which is why pests are so bad with monocultures and why you have to spray with the crop dusters to get the pests off, because pests they see it as a disease, really.
Okay.
Diversity is what produces more and more life, which is what the earth is trying to get. The earth is trying to capture as much sunlight to turn into sugar, which is that photosynthesis process. Without it, we don't live, because that's the process that gives us oxygen.
Right.
So, the more diverse, the more sun captured, the more oxygen, the less CO2. So it's like a climate issue now. There's too much CO2, right? Well, the more plant life you have, the more diversity of plant life, the more CO2 is captured.
Because those plants need that CO2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's part of the process. We learned some basic fundamentals in school growing up, and that was one of them, that the plants produce this oxygen and they consume the CO2. That was the premise.
CO2. The air around us is 78% nitrogen. That the plant sucks in that nitrogen. When we talk about chemical fertilizers, well, one of them is ammonium nitrous, whatever. It's nitrogen.
Right.
But that is an inorganic substance. So we throw out an inorganic substance, and yes, the plants can use part of it. But it's the debate was, we can get that from other ways than synthetic.
Gotcha.
Okay. And is that synthetic good for us? What's the effect it has on us long term? And the studies show that it's bad.
Right.
So
I took you off on the tomato route, but you were talking about the general definition and some of the things that we see in our organic labeling. You were talking about we got on the GMO and how that's for efficiency's sake and so forth. And there's a lot of people that have this mindset that GMO is evil. You know what I'm saying? That's evil. Somebody's trying to do something bad to us with this. And in fact, it's actually the corporations trying to make things more efficient, more deliverable, and
Sure.
more attractive, and all that.
I'm a firm believer that most of what's gone on in our history, it just, we may have suffered unintended consequences.
Right.
I think a lot of times our hearts are in the right places when we try to develop things and make things more efficient. I mean, once you go through a course in college about operations management, you realize that, hey, every little group here they are focusing on how can we do this better, more efficient, better product, make more money, all those things. And those things, it's neat to have teams like that to decide how to do things. But we forgot about the relationships that are these basic principles of life that we can't run from. They're with us no matter how far away we try to stray from them. You know what I'm?
Yeah.
I ramble on a little bit, but
no, that's good. I think that for the most part, we see a shift now going toward the organic because we have learned that some of this stuff is bad for us, and we lean now back toward the organic, and with that comes a higher price because you have to handle it different. You have to, the shipping, the grow time. There's a lot of things that have increased in price on the organic.
Well, it's obvious to someone like me, and I don't know everything, and I learn something all the time, but it's obvious to me that there are definite problems in the system because the system is not regenerative. It's not sustainable. So when there's something that's going on that's not sustainable, that means it's not going to go on forever, right?
Yeah.
At some point, we won't be able to do it. And it seems like we as consumers or society, we wait till catastrophe before we decide to make changes. And I'm of the opinion like, hey, let's try to be more informed, and maybe us as a society say, hey, can we do this differently? Can we not pollute the rivers? Can we not degrade the soil? Do I have to stick carcinogens and pesticides and poison in my newborn baby? Isn't there a different way? And that's what I like to think about and try to get to. I would love to be more involved in agricultural and growing my own food for me, not only me, but others around me. It's just something that's very interesting to me, and I like talking about the issues and thinking about them. I don't know the answers.
So here's my question for you. Going back to my scenario of me doing tomato plants or somebody doing tomato plants at home, maybe planting some beans and some maybe onions early in the year, and then doing peppers and squash and cucumbers and okra and that type of the typical garden that we have in this area. Would you say that those products coming from that garden are more healthy than what you're going to get at a grocery store that's not labeled organic? Or is that too simple to say?
I would definitely say it's more healthy for lots of reasons. One of the main ones would be that you were actually out in your yard working in the dirt and familiarizing yourself with what we came from, the dirt.
Right.
That's one really good thing. Another, you're doing a small patch. When you see some slugs on your beans, you can, like my mama used to cut them with her fingernail. You can just get rid of them that way. You don't have to come in with a crop duster and put poison down. Because you're not worried about losing a couple beans.
Right. You're dealing with a small patch versus fields and fields and fields, and the way the corporations
in agriculture, farmers have to worry about those things.
Right.
And there are tools that are necessary, especially in a monoculture world. They have to use those tools or they lose their money.
Right.
So we're at a really hard spot there,
Sure.
What should we use? How much should we use? And, I'd say, if 2 cc's work good, let's give this cow 4 cc's, and
Right.
that'll
Oh,
really
yeah.
fix them
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are tough deals. But just like operations management has all these groups working to get efficient, we can do the same thing with an organic mindset, and we can change the way we do things incrementally
Right.
with the smart people that we have working towards a goal.
Right.
Will we get there? Maybe not in my lifetime, but I'd love to be an advocate to do that.
Right.
Just because I think about my own health. I'd like to be as healthy as I can be, and if there was options available that were healthier, I'd like to demand those.
Sure. Of course. Yeah. Or at least you got a
But
choice.
most people don't know and wouldn't
Yeah.
know. So that's why this is good that we're talking to
Sure.
a few people, and
Well,
maybe they talk to somebody else. And
I want to thank our sponsor today, Dennis Young Insurance.
I like
He's
Dennis.
made this possible, and he's here in Shelbyville. If you have any insurance need, give him a call at 931-680-1011. They've got a team of professionals out there, been in business a long time, and we want to thank Dennis Young Insurance for being our sponsor. Andy, in general, I'm just going to make this statement and say, okay, I go out to the local grocery store. Let's just say I go to Kroger or Food Line or Walmart, and I go to that section that says organic, and I reach to that shelf and I pull it off, and I have confidence. The consumer is having confidence that this is definitely better than what the other item is on the other section where it's not certified. I can pretty much take a little confidence in that move and know that this higher price is giving me a little healthier product. So that's kind of what we're saying here.
Well, there's let me expand on that just a little bit. Nutrition wise, it's probably about the same in these big industrial settings, because it's hard to grow nutritious food the way industry does. Okay.
Right.
The most nutritious food is going to be able to come from your backyard.
Right. Okay.
The only thing you're going to get with organic is not necessarily more nutrition, but it's less
Junk.
poison.
Yeah, exactly. Less poison. Okay. That's a healthier step.
It's a healthier step.
Not poisoning yourself is a good thing. So that's a step in the right direction.
Like I said, it's the best we can do at the moment.
Right. Okay.
And that's not saying that, nutritious usually means it tastes good to you.
Right.
Because we have innate abilities to seek out nutrition.
Right.
And our bodies know what's nutritious and what's not. So if we taste a piece of broccoli and it tastes horrible, it probably doesn't have many nutrients in it. But if you've ever had a baby broccoli that's steamed just right, I mean, it tastes sweet.
Right.
And your body knows that it's nutritious. So I would encourage those. If you're buying vegetables just for the sake of buying organic vegetables and they don't taste good, you're probably not gaining much with those foods. But if you go to a farmer's market and have some of their squash and make a little casserole and you taste the difference, that lets you know that your body's getting, because your cells are like excited, like, yeah, that's what we needed. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And your body craves that type of stuff at times too.
Kids, I try to get my kids to eat vegetables. They won't do it because they taste so bad.
Yeah.
So we have to try to figure out a way to get good tasting vegetables available to them.
Right.
And that's hard. We're in the state of where we are now. That's hard to do if you're not doing it yourself.
All right. Here we are. We're sitting in December, going into winter. And if somebody wanted to have a garden this coming spring, they've got plenty of time right now to get to plan that thing out. And I would just encourage people to do it. I'm talking to some guys right now about possibly doing a little garden at our church. And I would love to see people get out and play in the dirt a little bit and go down that path. And, I've seen people do it, and it's addictive. I believe people do that, and they see how it works. It's phenomenal,
and it's healthy for you. If you want to increase your vibrance, get in the dirt.
Yeah,
I mean I'm telling you, that's where we come from, and that's where we're going to feel the best. And we get connected to the soil and to those around us and who we can share food with, and I mean, that's important. Those things are really important to vibrance.
Right.
You know, if you're feeling bad and you don't like getting up and going to work in the morning, and you know, there's some good food can go a long way, and some good dirt work can go a long way, I think.
Yeah. All right, Andy. Well, thanks for sitting down. This has been informative, and I hope you guys out here have learned a little something like I have. And we're going to come back again real soon, Andy, and talk
Sounds
some
good.
more
I
about
enjoyed it.
nutrition and natural eating. And we've got to get up there to check that seed place out up in Virginia sometime.
Well,
Whenever
there's
it's-
another one called White Oak Pastures in Georgia that's 6.5 hours away, and it's really good. Love to go to that one.
Okay.
But let me say this: there's a good seed catalog where you can get heirloom seeds. It's called Baker Creek.
Baker Creek.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's where I get all my seeds.
Is there a website that people can go
Baker
to?
Creek? Yeah. You just look up Baker Creek,
Okay.
and you'll go right to a website. I get a catalog, paperback at the house. But,
Right.
yeah, there are all kinds of deals.
Okay. Good deal. That's a good resource for people that do want to start their garden.
It's all heirloom, so it's all passed down. You know, it's no GMOs.
No GMOs. All right.
You know.
All right. None of that bad stuff. All right. Well, Andy, thanks again. And again, we want to thank our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance here in Shelbyville, 931-680-1011. And we'll be back again real soon. Thanks for watching. And for Andy Brantley, I'm David Thomas, and we'll see you again real soon.